Yongju-Sa, the Dragon Pearl Temple. And today we are here with our favorite Professor David Mason, who's going to guide us around. Where are we here right now and what are we going to see, David?
We're going to see some royal tombs that have very interesting story behind them from the later part of the Joseon dynasty, and then we're going to see the temple that spiritually protects these tombs, which has some very interesting features that make it a unique temple in all of Korea.
In all of Korea. That sounds amazing. Now let's check it out and we follow David.
Royal tombs of the Joseon dynasty. There's 40 of them exactly. 40 official royal tombs. Together they are collectively designated as Korea's 11th UNESCO World Heritage Site. And we're visiting 2/40ths or 5% of the royal tombs we will see here today. Okay, this story goes with, again, the Joseon dynasty. Now you're aware, 1392. There's a coup d'etat. Korea, before that, Korea's been Buddhist kingdoms for 1,000 years. There's a coup d'etat, a social revolution. Korea becomes Neo-Confucian. This is the only Neo-Confucian revolution in history, according to scholars. China never did this, Japan never did this. Neo-Confucianism, which is a very conservative doctrine, it's hard to imagine. It's all about respecting your parents. It's hard to imagine this as a revolutionary ideology, but in this one case it was. Koreans did that. Coup d'etat and revolution and Neo-Confucianism takes over, kicks out the Buddhists, suppresses Korean Buddhism terribly and the shamanism and such, institutes a whole new system. Well, during the 1700s up to 1800 and beyond, there are three kings in a row that ruled for 35 years each. Getting back to great King Jongjog, one of the best, one of the most capable, able rulers of the Joseon dynasty. People talk about it as a renaissance, as Korea got back on track, back going. But he did one weird thing, one unfortunate, strange thing that he had to. He killed his son. His older son died of a virus. Unfortunately, tragically, he was a crown prince, so the second son was elevated to crown prince. And he did pretty well since he was 15, up till he was about 32 years old. He helped his father with state administration. He was the crown prince. He was doing all right, but slowly rumors started going around that weird things were happening. He was leaving the palace unexpectedly, unexplained, and a crown prince shouldn't do that. Leaving the palace, going out at night, hanging out with common people, and there were talks of drunkenness and violence, and there were incidents in the palaces where supposedly the crown prince came upon somebody in a hallway or something, just suddenly pulled out a knife and killed that person, murdered him, and then just walk away. And people said, what the hell? And there were stories of rape of certain palace women servants, whatever, the crown prince. And these stories going around. Now, we don't know that they're true. We still don't know exactly. But the stories going around got stronger and stronger. The crown prince lost his mind. He's insane. He's gone crazy with this. Now, the political pressure from certain factions in the politics and bureaucracy got stronger and stronger to do something about this. And it's like he can't be the crown prince anymore. Got to be removed. But the only way a crown prince can be removed really is incapacitated or he's dead. And you can't legally punish a crown prince. You can't be arrested by the police. That was illegal. He was untouchable in any sense. But his father finally had to agree that he has to go. Father got him in a room, in a palace room with the other people, and had a large wooden rice chest. The kind of wooden chest in which they keep large amounts of rice in storage. Had that brought in, empty, and such. He ordered his son to climb into the chest. and his son did so, and father had the lid closed and had it locked up. And it took 8 days for the boy to die. They had it out in the courtyard, and it was hot. It was July, the hot sun. Some say he starved to death, and others they suffocated to death in there. Not sure how he had any water supply, something. But he died in 8 days. Very pitiful. He was pounding on the lid, saying, "Let me out, let me out," and such. He died that way. That was the way they had to kind of execute him, because nobody could touch him physically. We could do this, and father ordered him to do so. He's called, the Koreans commonly call him Sado Seja. He was called Crown Prince Sado. Seja means like a rice chest prince, the prince of the rice chest. Sado Seja. It's well known, a very ugly little incident in the royal history. Nothing compared to what England has, but still. Reasonably gruesome by our medieval standards. Okay, so now that happened when he was 32 years old. His wife lived for like 45 years longer. She died an old lady at an auxiliary palace. She could never get remarried or anything. She was very sad, very tragic. She wrote her memoirs as an old lady when she was about 60. She wrote her memoirs and focusing, of course, on that entire incident, which is one of the great pieces of royal literature that we have. It's great with details about the factional political fighting and just what life was like in the palace in those days. The memoirs of Lady Haegong. You can find this in paperback book form, published many years ago, translated by some missionary stuff. So anyway, she wrote that. She seemed to think her husband really had gone crazy. There are some scholars, down to the present, there was always a faction, and down to the present day, people say, nah, he was innocent. It was all politics. It was all political maneuvering. He wasn't crazy, and he didn't murder or rape anybody. He liked to go outside the palace to mix with common people for the relief of it, and he didn't believe so much in the royal aristocracy, believing more in human equality, and that's why he was killed. Some people say, but his wife's memoirs seem to indicate that at least she believed he really had gone crazy and had done some terrible crimes. It's still all rather a bit uncertain. But Sado Seja. Now, he had a son. And that son grew up, and he was old enough by the time Yongju died, because Yongju ruled a long time, and he became king. Jongjog, very famous guy. He became king, the grandson of Yongju, son of Sado Seja. Okay? He becomes king. Now, he loved his father, was devoted to his father. He thought his father was innocent. Infamously, and this has been depicted in many Korean movies, and then he takes the throne, and he has a big ceremony. He's enthroned, and he sits on the throne for the first time, and he stares out at all his ministers and says, "I am the son of Crown Prince Sado." And the people who had pressured to have him killed were shaking in fear. He was devoted to his father, and the idea of his father's ultimate innocence and purity in this world, not so much spiritual afterlife. The other funeral temple buildings and such like that.
Hello, we are here right now in the shamanistic kind of temple here next to the Yongju-Sa. Next to every Buddhist temple, there is a specific little small temple dedicated to the mountain spirit. So shamanistic rituals are eventually being held here. This is what we can see. Images of goddesses, mountain spirits with tigers. Very interesting.
It's just the same in the Catholic or Orthodox, Catholic.
So now we have seen actually the fantastic royal tombs of Crown Prince Sado, let's say the nasty one, or maybe not so nasty one, depending, and his son, Prince or King Jongjog. So anyway, it was the first time for me, frankly speaking, to see a royal tomb here in the Suwon area. But how about for our friends from the Netherlands, Marjolein? How was it?
It was great to learn about the way of living the people had at that time, and it gives so much context about Korea and where we are now.
Great.
It's very interesting.
Thank you. Derek, how about for you?
More or less the same. It learns you a lot about Korean culture and how they live and how they think and how important those dynasty has been for the country. So it gives you a lot of background information.
I think definitely these kind of tours are very helpful because they give you a lot of background information about life and of Koreans and the past here in Korea. And I believe with this you can better understand also how much the past is influencing the actual life of Koreans these days.
This has been Yongju-Sa, the Dragon Pearl Temple, quite a unique temple in Korea, different from others, with fascinating aspects, especially the blending of Confucianism together. How about it, people? Was this interesting tour?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you. Stay there one moment. I will shoot one picture of all of you. That looks very nice there. Okay, so this was our tour here today to Yongju-Sa, or the Dragon Pearl Temple, plus the royal tombs. I hope you all liked it. And our next tour is coming up soon, already on April 12th, which is a Sunday. And we will go to a very specific place in Seoul, which is like a secret hidden place. What is the name of that place?
Inwangsan, the Benevolent King Mountain.
Wow, what can we expect there?
Shamanism. Live action shamanism, real shrines still existing here in Korea, very ancient practices of the worship of nature spirits.
Wow, a topic that Koreans usually would not mention in public, but we could actually check it out thanks to Professor David Mason. So come again and join us on April 12th. Bye!